A sudden good news near Christmas for millions of Americans, and it's about a $2,000 worth of stimulus checks.
Now, we've had some back and forth on the floor today about how we got to the level of $2,000. We all know how we got to that level. The President of the United States said that's the level he supported.
Yes, you heard it right. $2,000 for millions of Americans. As stimulus check update, a $2,000 worth of stimulus is proposed by congressmen, and this is a huge landmark achieved for millions of struggling Americans, because you need to understand that government is not operational right now. There's a shutdown, and this $2,000 worth of stimulus is something that Americans need right now. And you know what's the biggest reason that the stimulus check is a need? Well, look at this. Consumer price rose 2.7% in July from a year ago, above the Federal Reserve target of 2%. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core prices rose 3.1%, and stimulus check is finally back, and these checks are the hottest debate right now. I'm gonna give you each and every detail, but all I need is just a little favor. It takes 2 seconds to please hit that like button on this video. So without any further ado, let's begin. So let's start with $2,000 worth of stimulus checks for all Americans. And this is huge. A $2,000 payment is finally proposed by a congressman. When it comes to the details, Representative Ro Khanna, a California Democrat, is proposing a $2,000 worth of payments to all Americans making under $100,000, arguing that the move would offset some of the President Donald J. Trump's tariff, which he says have jacked up the prices. And if you remember that few years ago, Josh Hawley was in the support of these $2,000 worth of stimulus check, and this is what he said.
I can't for the life of me figure out why it is so difficult to get a vote on the bills that Senator Sanders has just referenced, when, by my count, the President of the United States, the Speaker of the House, a large majority of the House of Representatives, and I think a supermajority of this body are all in favor of $2,000 relief payments to working Americans. Now, we've had some back and forth on the floor today about how we got to the level of $2,000. We all know how we got to that level. The President of the United States said that's the level he supported. The number originates with him. This is the number that he has asked for, and the House adopted it. And a majority of senators have said already publicly that they support it. And yet we can't seem to even get a vote on it. We can't even seem to have debate on it. I mean, with all due respect, this doesn't seem to me to be a Republicans versus Democrats issue. This seems to be the Senate versus the United States of America. And I just don't understand it. And I'm willing to bet that the American people don't understand it either. I mean, here we are in the throes of the worst in a century that working people have borne the brunt of. And all that we're asking is that those working people be first in line for relief, and that they be given meaningful relief that is only approximately commensurate with the hardships that they and their families have borne. Now, I hear a lot of talk about how we can't afford it. I do notice, however, that we seem to be able to afford all kinds of other stuff. We can afford to send lots of money to other governments. We can afford to send all kinds of tax breaks and bailouts to big corporations. We can afford to spend enormous sums of money on pork, hundreds of billions of dollars in that last bill on pork, hundreds of billions. But we can't seem to find the money for relief for working people that the President and the House and the Senate all support, and yet we can't seem to get onto the floor.
And this is the reality. Once again, Americans are struggling, and they need the support as soon as possible. And remember, this is the same Josh Hawley who recently introduced Americans Worker Rebate Act, and under this act, $600 are proposed for every adult, $600 for every dependent, and $1,200 for every couple, as well as a maximum of $2,400 payments for a family of 4. And this is the same Josh Hawley who said these words during the worst pandemic, and Americans received this $2,000 worth of stimulus check. Now, another congressman is finally saying enough is enough. It's time time to do something for millions of struggling Americans. While Representative Rokana, a California Democrat, is proposing $2,000 worth of payments to Americans making under $100,000, arguing that the move would offset some of the President Donald J. Trump's tariff, which he says have jacked up the prices. While Khanna told in an email Thursday that Trump's blanket tariffs are hurting American families, adding, "I'm looking at how we can provide stimulus checks to working class Americans based on the unfair tax collected on them." Well, recently, according to a report from Gallup, the prices of groceries are up by 21% in the past 3 years. Now, there's a government shutdown. Well, the inflation report is showing that the inflation is doubled in July than the last year. So, if everything is happening right now, the only people who are struggling with this are Americans, and we are talking about low and middle income Americans. Well, they are looking up to this administration, especially towards President Donald J. Trump, that he'll bring some sort of relief. Well, President Donald J. Trump did talk about sort of a dividend payments to Americans, and recently this is what he said.
Actually giving Americans a tariff rebate check.
Well, we have a lot of money coming in, rebate check for the Americans, and it's coming in at tremendous numbers. Don't forget, I would say, Scott, we probably are talking about right now 50%, maybe even less than that. With all the money you're hearing is coming in, you're talking about, a lot of it hasn't kicked in yet. And when it really kicks in is in 2 years when these plants are built and opened and the money starts pouring in, right? But, there's a concept of making you could call it a dividend, as we would say, making a dividend to the people in this country who have had to suffer through stupid leadership. And they paid a lot of taxes and they got nothing for it.
Well, as you can see, that according to President Donald J. Trump, billions and billions of dollars are pouring in because of these reciprocal tariffs that President Donald J. Trump placed on almost every country in the world. And he's saying that they're thinking about giving a portion of it to millions of Americans. And don't forget, President Donald J. Trump himself announced the possibility of these new tariff rebate stimulus checks, and then Josh Hawley came up with this bill. But people like Bernie Moreno said that this bill will never pass, and though Josh Hawley and Bernie Moreno both are Republicans, this is quite shocking, to be honest. But moving on with the details of this $2,000 stimulus checks to millions of Americans, in a video posted to Khanna's social media account, the congressman announced that he's proposing the bill because tariffs are unfair tax on Americans, adding that it has meant that all of us have higher prices for our groceries, higher prices for our housing, and higher cost of living. And he further said that $2,000 worth of stimulus check is something that Americans deserve right now, and especially low and middle class income Americans. And we all know that Josh Hawley's proposal is already in the trash bin and no one is talking about it, while someone is finally standing up for Americans. And we need to see what's gonna happen after the government opens, because there's a shutdown right now. A number of people are confused because a number of people will not be able to receive their benefits on time. And what I mean by the benefits, well, we're talking about if you need to have customer service for some of the reason that you're facing in your food stamps, or probably in your benefits, or in your social security benefits, where are you gonna go? Who's you gonna talk to? Well, the government is going through a shutdown right now, and majority of the offices are either closed or they are short-staffed. Well, if you have any questions at all, then please let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer each and every question of yours, as Credit Viral channel will always be with you in your good and difficult time. And if you support these stimulus checks, then don't forget to write in the comment section, I support $2,000 checks. Again, if you support it, then write in the comment section, I support $2,000 stimulus checks or $2,000 checks, because remember, if you don't do anything, nothing will happen. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video very soon. Till then, please take care and have a nice day.